I'm Laurianna Callaghan, as you can see, and I've been in security awareness, I'd say about 4 or 5 years now, but I've been in IT close to 30. So, been around for a long time. As an administrator in networking, I have a CCNA security and a CISSP. So hopefully we'll have a few gems of truth in here that you guys can take back with you. That's what I'm hoping for. Okay, so the first thing is, how many of you are students of the college? Any students here? There's 1, 2, 3. Well, nice. Okay, so for the students, does your school have a security awareness program? Do you have to learn about security awareness items such as phishing and that kind of thing? So nothing really official.
Well, it's encompassed inside the security plus, intro to security plus. They touch on it, but they don't really go into depth.
Okay, all right. So I'll let you know the CISSP book and the test also doesn't really cover it. There's a very tiny section on 1 page about security awareness. So we need to expand that. We need to get the word out. Security awareness is extremely important, and I think you guys saw that theme. I was here all day well, not all day. But I was here yesterday, and the recurring theme was humans, right? It's coming in through your phishing. It's coming in through your phishing and emails, people clicking, what people do, the tailgating. We kept hearing that yesterday, right? Through the very first keynote speech all the way through. So that's what we're talking about here is the human factor. How many of you guys actually work for like a company as opposed to government or whatever? Quite a few, a lot of you. Okay, so out of all of you, do you guys have a security awareness program? How many of you have one? Quite a few. So how many of you do not have a security awareness program? Just one? Okay, that's not bad actually too. So that is a really good thing. That's actually a little more than I expected. There are a lot of companies that don't have a security awareness program. As a matter of fact, going out looking for a job, if you want to do this for a living, it is hard to find security awareness as a position. But it's out there for the bigger companies like, let's say Pepsi has a security awareness manager plus quite a few people in that team. And there are other companies that like that. Intel, I believe, has 10 people for security awareness. But you have to remember these are international companies, right? So it's going to be bigger. How many of you are security awareness professionals? This is what you do for a living. Absolutely 0.
It's a piece, or a small piece.
Small piece of your big job, right? So you might do training, right? What am I missing?
I do it as part of my other responsibilities.
Right, okay, so when you think awareness, are you thinking, typically your company is saying, do training?
Correct, yeah. We subscribe to SANS,
Okay,
SANS awareness, so at the time of hire and then annually, you'll have to take that and pass it and then.
right, okay, so yeah, so the training, do you do, either of you do newsletter or any tips and tricks on the email or something?
Monthly emails to everybody.
Oh, you send emails out, like to the whole, okay, that's really good. You?
Newsletter.
Yeah, newsletter, you?
Yeah, we have our main website, and then every month I put like the tips or,
Oh, sweet,
every month. And then I created a security awareness site, and not just for the people in our office, but for their families, for their kids, for the seniors if they're living with them. So
perfect, so you have gone really far into awareness, all right. Yeah, that is really good. I'm not a lot doing that, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a simple program from 0 to maturity. What does that mean? It means companies starting out from absolutely nothing to going all the way to metrics version. Now, I haven't seen a company other than the ones that I work at that actually, and I'm not being full of myself, I just haven't seen it yet, So that's why I'm asking how many people out there actually have a metrics-based program. Not a lot of them have, so that's something that I'm trying to really get out into our industry. This is really important. Now I'll show you why. Okay, so why bother with human? Simple program, mature program, and next steps. So we started a little late, but we'll go through, but I'd like this to be interactive. So anytime you want to stop me, just raise your hand. I'm here, I'll try to answer the question best that I possibly can. So why bother with the human? So tell me about someone in your life that was phished or somehow socially engineered. Anybody want to raise their hand and tell me a story?
I myself actually too.
Oh, really? What happened?
It was a couple of companies back, they sent a phishing simulation, and it looked pretty legitimate. It said that because of all the hard work we've been putting in, here's a $25 Starbucks card, and click here, and it went to the training site.
Oh, wow, very, very sneaky. Actually, I do that as well. I use Wombat, but there are other products. I'm not endorsing Wombat, just saying I particularly use that, and I do send those out as well. So I try to help people understand what a fish is. Anybody else?
I can relate to personal one. My parents get it done all the time. I've had to rescue their PC at least 5 occasions, and it's clickbait. It's the usual political stuff that's very prevalent at the moment. It gets my father's blood boiling, and he just doesn't understand that because he got it from a friend, in quotes, that it's not clickbait. It's going to put something on his.
Okay, so that's a little new to me. And now emotion is not new, because emotion, as we all know, phishing tries to get emotion out of you so that you will click. But I have not heard the political side, so
Yeah,
trying to
it's
get
aggressive.
somebody's,
Yeah.
okay, trying to get somebody's blood boiling, that is a good one. That's a very good way to get somebody to click on a link or open an attachment. Anybody else have a good story?
We just did one that our company sent out an email telling you're qualified for an upgrade to your laptop. 40% of the company failed.
We all wanted a new
Yeah.
laptop.
Yeah.
I would see, those are believable. Now, way back, you guys remember when you got the misspellings and you won a $2 million prize? You knew not to click. But you're getting something like, oh, I'm gonna upgrade your laptop for work. You're like, yeah. Well, yeah, I wanna upgrade. And you're thinking it's coming from them, because in the from section, it says it's from somebody that looks like, help desk at your address, right? So how is a regular non-security person gonna know not to click, right? Okay, so why bother with a human? We went through a few of the stories here. This is why we bother with a human. If someone clicks on something within your network, you could be in big, serious trouble. We've all seen it, and we're all hearing about it yesterday and today, right? So that's why we bother with the human. Humans are the prevalent enabler of attacks from the outside. We're talking 95% of incidents come via the phishing or the, double click and open this document kind of thing. The stronger your physical security is, and we're talking like firewalls and devices, the stronger you make that, the more the hackers are gonna go and turn towards the human, because it's easier. Why would I spend a month trying to get through a firewall when I only have to spend half a day trying to find somebody gullible enough to click on a link, right? Does that make sense, pretty much? So this is something that kind of gets me, as he said earlier, gets my blood boiling, is it's just, we have 100,000 people. If one person clicks, we're all in trouble anyway. So why bother? Well, that's a fallacy. If enough people report spam, security may be able to take quick action. So you guys, you technical people, can take action before, somebody clicks. So if the user that's pretty savvy says, oh, hey, I just got a phish, sends it to your, whoever your spam email box is, they might be able to catch it before somebody a little more gullible will click on that link, okay? So less devices would get infected by malware, right? So if it's something that's only going to affect one device, less devices might get infected if we know that it's out there. If using antivirus, other companies will benefit. That's like something, and again, no endorsement, but if you're using McAfee and you report it to them, you being security, you report it to them, they can put it out in their big database and then stop it from hitting other companies, right? So now you see why we want to work on the human, right? Security awareness saves time, effort, and money. Okay, lack of control. For the most part, you can control technology through proper configuration and prevention, right? We all know that. We're technical people. We got that. Humans are unpredictable and cannot be configured. Think of it this way. You have a firewall. You can write one line into a text file, right? And send that to the firewall, and it will repeat that line over and over, block port, over and over, and it won't stop, right? Give that line to a human being, what's going to happen? Maybe they might interpret it different. Maybe they might do it. Maybe they won't do it. Maybe they're angry and that, they just throw that piece of paper away. Human is much more difficult to deal with than the technology. Some don't care, some don't understand, some just don't know how important it is, and some just want to be left alone. So you're talking about people that have been at a company for 30 years, they're ready to retire, right? They got 1 year left. They don't care. They're just like, I'm just trying to get through my last year. So we've all heard that old, what keeps you up at night kind of theory, right? So you asked an executive, by the way, do we have any executives in the room?
Right here.
One here? Oh, Tom, okay, and you're an executive? So, how about managers? Got a lot of managers here? Yeah, I do, I have quite a few managers. Okay, cool. So have you been asked the question, what keeps you awake at night? Any of you? What would be your answer normally? Doesn't have to be a security awareness answer, just what would be your answer? What keeps you up at night regarding security for your company? Oh, crickets. Oh man, so for me, I'll tell you mine, somebody tailgating in and taking out a gun, right? I mean, we're seeing it on TV all the time. So my company actually does physical security as well. So our security is not in IT, it's actually its own entity. And so we do also physical security, and somebody walking through the front door behind somebody else, I'm holding a box, right? And somebody's in front of me, I'm like, oh, please, can you open that door? This box is too heavy. And they open the door and let me walk right in. That scares me, that keeps me up at night. Because I don't know if that receptionist or that security officer is actually gonna have to face somebody with a gun. Or somebody's gonna walk up, they're gonna get on one executive's computer and maybe, steal information that's gonna take my company down. All right, so that's what keeps me up at night. But if you have a mature security awareness program, that tailgater is not gonna get in most of the time. Now, they may get in, but most of the time they're not gonna be able to. It's gonna be difficult, and they might be turned away enough to where, it's like locking your front door. Maybe they're gonna get in once if you forget to unlock it, but most of the time it's locked, so most of the time we're not gonna be able to get in, right? So from security awareness alone, a mature dashboard can help determine which technology is in danger. I can get it all the way to the point where this database right here is in danger. I'm not talking from hackers technically, I'm talking from a security awareness perspective, okay? So I can tell you, maybe you have some insider threat going on here, and this is how this is gonna happen. Think of what can be done when consolidating metrics with other secure applications and AI programs. That means if I can tell you this database is in trouble and this is why, here's the human that might be the problem, what if I put that in with other applications and other risk and threat management systems, right? No, I put this statement is not evaluated by the FDA because security awareness can help you sleep at night. Not even laugh, man, man, I tell you what. Okay, so somebody was saying they use SANS over here. So this is the SANS maturity model. You guys all familiar with SANS? Pretty much, can I raise your hands, anybody? Most of you, perfect. Okay, so security awareness maturity model. Maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't, but you start with number one, non-existent. We see that, non-existent program at all. Some, actually, I would say most of the companies that I've come across are compliance focused. They're doing it just because of a regulation. Somewhere says, give these people training. That's it, that's all they're doing. Third level, promoting awareness and behavior change. Behavior change is huge. When you're doing training, you're not changing people's behavior. Maybe one or two people, but it's doubtful, and they'll forget. Long-term sustainment and culture change, and then you have the metrics framework, and that's what I'm trying to get the security community to see, is how you can create metrics for your security awareness program. So let's start at number one. The first thing in that list there, there we go. I was trying to use this cute little pointer. Non-existent, okay, level one, and then we'll go, each slide will go through your level 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? So level one, smaller companies, non-existent. That means these are the small homegrown companies. Do they need security awareness? Yeah. Are they taking credit cards? Do they have a front door? Yeah, they probably do need security awareness, okay? They have no perceived need for PCI DSS or HIPAA. PCI is for your credit cards, right? HIPAA is for your healthcare. So they believe that they don't have any, well, really, do I need that? Come on. Okay, companies that don't know what to do, maybe they're a little lost, they don't have a security awareness person in their company to help them out. Companies that just plain don't follow regulations. I haven't seen that before, but I've heard of it. It could happen. Okay, compliance focused. On this level, you'll see things like a newsletter. You'll see trinkets. They make a little button that says be secure. It's cute, right? How many people are gonna wear that? How many people are gonna, deal with that more than, a couple of hours? They're like, okay, wear this button today and we'll give you, a $25 gift card. Come on. That's not gonna get me anywhere, right? Trinkets alone won't get you anywhere, but trinkets are great, so don't get me wrong there. I do trinkets myself. People love stuff, especially like seminars. If y'all gone through those tables and picked up, M&Ms and pens, and those are really great things. But if you're talking about making one button and you think it's gonna work long-term, it really isn't, because how many of those vendors that you visited are you gonna remember that pen and say, oh, I need to call them, right? You're probably not. They need to call you, okay? So trinkets and training, compliance focused. Most simple programs include 1 or 2 projects. So you have a newsletter, you have your tips, or you have your training. Actually, everybody pretty much has training if they're following regulation, right? Humans choose whether they participate, and many don't. So I wrote a newsletter, I spent days on it, and how many people read it? 2, 3, 5, maybe, and you're like, oh geez, what a waste of time, right? So you're covering CYA, right? You're doing a little CYA with your newsletter, but you're really not hitting the crowd, you're not changing behaviors. So some just forego the security awareness lifecycle. Actually, that's just something I talk about. It's very similar to the systems design lifecycle or development lifecycle that you guys are used to. So promoting awareness. This level, people start changing slightly. Their behaviors start changing. So the company actually understands that we need to change behavior, okay? They actually teach, and I think you said you, sir, in the back, said you teach about home.
Correct.
Do you teach also about travel?
Yes, I have a little link for traveling as well.
Oh, perfect.
So,
Okay.
we have business travelers.
Yeah, so that, you're doing great. I mean, you're talking a high level here. So when you're teaching people at home, you're teaching them travel, number one, you're getting a buy-in, what's in it for me, which is pretty important. But number two, you're getting them to be secure when they're in the airport. So you know that shoulder, have you guys heard of shoulder surfing? Right? Everybody's heard of that. Somebody's standing behind you and they're looking over your shoulder to see what you're doing. If they're in the airport, they might be working. If they're working on something like with PHI, something might be, you know, little click on their phone, right? They don't even have to look like they're clicking. You just hold your phone and click and make a camera, you know, do a picture, right? So I know that sounds silly, but it's $1 here, $1 there for these hackers. The program is consistent annually, so they do something every year for security awareness. They target specific behaviors. If something goes wrong, they have continual reinforcement, learn by example, and they change some behaviors, right? Which I already said in the top. Any questions so far? I'm the only one talking here.
I'll give you an observation though, interesting one, because you now turn off in this job. You talk about shoulder surfing. I actually saw the designs for the Range Rover Evoque on a train. Some guy was on his iPad before it was even released, and they were putting the publicity photos together. And I went, that's interesting, I know that's the new Range Rover. But I also sat next to an MP who was going, which is a senator, representative. She was actually doing personal documentation on her laptop, and I was reading everything that she, you know, you sit out the corner of your eye.
Right.
And she was doing letters to her constituents which contained very personal information. So I tapped her on the shoulder and said, I was actually a member of her party. You shouldn't be doing that on the train. So yeah, it's everywhere. And I say you can't turn off in this job. But unfortunately you get the attitude of you're a know-it-all, you know, go away kind of thing. So
Yeah, I get that too, and it's unfortunate, but I can't believe you saw the Range Rover. So was it really cool? Did you want to tell
yeah, it was
everybody?
well, it's the silly one where they've got the drop back so you can't see out the back anyway. It was designed for, we call them Chelsea tractors you call the equivalent, I guess, Washington tractors here. But it, you know, it was designed for people who never go off road. And I saw it and I thought, that's interesting, that must be the new one that they're about to bring out.
Wow.
I've got loads of other stories, but unfortunately some of them are a bit sensitive. So
Yeah.
they're the two I can share.
I get it. Oh, man. Anybody else? Any questions so far? Okay. Culture change. So that's the next level here. So now we're actually changing the way people think about security. We focus beyond training and we use multiple delivery methods. Some of you are doing that already, so you're doing part of this. You follow the life cycle, right? So each project, you're not saying, oh gosh, we gotta train all our programmers, right? We have to, you know, OWASP, this is important. And then you do it once, you get it out there, you're all proud of yourself. What are you doing after that? Are you assigning the new programmers? Are you integrated in with your IDM system? Do you know who the new programmers are going to be tomorrow and the next day? And who's adminning that program, right? So we're not just throwing something in and not doing our administration. We're part of a big life cycle. Consistent review of program with updates, executive buy-in. So, you know, without executives buying in, I'll tell you right now, phishing is probably the hardest thing, right, to get executives to buy into because they have to hear it from all the other departments. So as part of security awareness, a lot of us will phish on purpose. We have a program of some sort probably where we're writing up a quick, easy phishing email, and then we try to find out how many people click on that email when they really should. And then we send them to a site that says, oops, you shouldn't have clicked here, you know, and here, this is why, and this is how you know, detect a phish later. So most of us doing that will get a lot of complaints, okay? And those complaints, what happens? They go up to the next level, and eventually your executives hear about it, they get ticked, or maybe they are actually clicking on it and they get ticked because they got sent to training. Sir?
Yeah, there's some vendors out there that also, not just for fishing, but they'll drop like USBs around your office to see who's gonna actually pick it up and open it up.
I need to try that. Now, I've heard about it out in the parking lot, but just actually setting on somebody's desk, that's pretty good. But you get things from HR like that's entrapment. You know, I've heard that before. I'm like, you know what? We're just trying to train people. And we won't actually, in my opinion, now I'm not talking about my current company, but in my opinion, you don't turn those people into HR just because they click. All you're doing is trying to help them. They're the victim. They are not the perpetrator, right? They are the victim. All you're trying to do is help them out. So you give them training, you send them along their way, and hopefully they'll learn over time. They click the second time, they take the training again, they're like, really, maybe I might learn the second time kind of thing. But, you know, if you don't have executive buy-in, you're not going to be able to do those programs.
So one of the, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
One of the executive issues that I've come across is that you can go into an organisation where the culture is you can wander around the office freely. I've got a badge on today, which is interesting, just to prove the point. But you know, I've wandered around offices of customers without badges on, and they've got those automatic mail carts, there's documents on desks and whatever, and yet they're beating the IT security desk with a stick and saying, you know, one particularly great example of a very red company in this organisation. There's a gatehouse to get in, but there's not a gatehouse to get out. So once I'm in, I can take anything I want and go. Funny enough, they fixed that 2 days after I mentioned it to them.
Oh, good.
You know, but that's an executive problem, is that unless they've got that culture of protecting the information that's on the desk, the clear desk policies and all that, this is a big problem because they haven't got the basics right of just what's on your desk is important.
Exactly true, exactly true. So for me, the way I'm handling that, now we've talked about this problem a few times. How are you handling getting your executive buy-in? Any of you guys have
I was
a
a
story?
bonus, so on how many people take the course. It's literally part of their bonus. We have to take the course. If we don't take the course, they don't have the bonus.
So my tactic is a little different. I'll just tell you about the way I'm doing it now, is trying to show them their return on investment and attempting to show them how happy the people become. So when I first got there, I started doing a newsletter, but I started doing what you're doing, putting the personal buy-in in there, and then people start talking. And they start sending these emails and saying, this is great, do this again, you know? And then just trying to kill them with kindness, basically. You're getting a return on investment. People are really caring about security, right? They're really caring about it. I have a typo here. I was told yesterday, so my apologies on that. I'm not going to budge resources. Actually, I need budget resources. So that's what that was supposed to be. You don't need a huge budget. We're talking small dollars. If you're doing it right, your budget is going into people, not into big bunches of software, not into tools. It's into people and customer service. That's where your money is going. Okay.
My question.
Sir? Sure.
You talked about budgetary resources, and you also mentioned a little while ago showing them return on investment. If you're investing on people and they're not seeing any uptake in that return on investment, how are you able to get management to say, okay, this is something that we would actually want to see you do yearly or quarterly and things of that sort? So how would you actually tackle that kind of discussion?
So we can talk after, but also for me is back to that killing with kindness. So the people that you have invested in really need to get themselves invested into the topic. Kind of like, getting them excited about what they get to do and explain to them more. So somebody told me the other day, I was giving away gift cards, right? And you had a chance, 1 in 3 chance to win a $25 gift card if you did certain things. It was a quiz, actually. And so I said, well, we might as well cancel it because I can't remember. Somebody it was a day thing. It was like a reschedule. It's like, we might as well cancel this. and then maybe do it next month or something. And my manager said something that really took me back, and it was, but don't you want the people to have the money? I'm like, yeah, I do. I didn't even think about it. So that excited me even more. I'm actually helping employees by just even giving them a little bit of money for their kids, you know? So it's getting that buy-in from those employees that's really important. Because if they don't have the buy-in, nobody in the company is gonna get the buy-in. But it's also all about customer service, so that's what I wanted to talk about. Okay, so maturity model. Now we're up to metrics framework. This is where we get into, sir?
Yeah, you're talking executive buy-in.
Yes.
It was a thought that I had at a previous company I was at. I was trying to develop a security policy, and I had taken it to the CIO, and the CIO was refusing to do anything with that. I took it to the CEO. He started to refuse to do anything with it. And I was that close to taking it above the CEO and going straight to the board of directors. And once you get up to that level, legal issues start flying. And I stopped shy of. I was like, I'm just going to step off and say good luck.
I get it, yeah. So legal is definitely something you want to follow as much as you possibly can, right? Anything legal says, I'm like, okay, I haven't done.
Yeah.
And HR, I kind of push back on occasion to HR, but I try to, listen and then collaborate. But the best thing I can say with legal, I'm sure you know, is collaboration. So sitting down and saying, okay, this is what we're trying to accomplish. Can you help us get there? Because then they have the buy-in, right? Can you help me? Because if they're part of the team that's actually getting that culture out there, they get excited about it.
Well, that's what I was saying. If the board of directors would get the idea that there's legal implications if we don't start going down the security pathway.
Oh, there you go.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Okay. So I misunderstood, but yeah, you are definitely correct, sir.
Another way to get the executive's attention is if you can monetize the risk.
There you go.
They're about
There you go.
the money.
Yes, I completely 100% agree. And hopefully some of this next section is going to get you to where I'm thinking, and then maybe we can talk from there and see. Sir, behind you.
Yeah, so just a disclaimer, we're a security provider. We have a comedy-based program. So that really gets the buy-in for people, not the executives get them to do it, but once the program starts, they want a repetitive program that they'll actually watch. So.
Yes, and that's the life cycle I was talking about, right? So you can't just start something and say, hey, we're going to do this, and then stop. You actually need to start something and have a plan and know how much it's going to cost as you're going through. Was somebody raising their hand over here? Okay. Maturity model. So what we're talking about is trying to get to those metrics, right? So mature program. So mature program metrics actually track your progress and measure the impact of your program. How do you measure a human being? It's not as hard as it sounds. Each project is, and we've already talked about this 5-6 times now, planned, analyzed, designed, implemented, and continually maintained. Given it technology, the dashboard can show which human and insecure activity poses the greatest danger. Now think about that for a second. How can I do that just out of training and newsletters? I can certainly do that. What I can do is go from one person and say, how many times did he read the newsletter? He or she. How many times did they read the newsletter? How many times did that person visit an internet website? Hopefully you're keeping these metrics, right? How many times did they show up to a roadshow? What was their scores on their annual exam? And you can see where I'm going now. Now I go to IDM and I say, what does this one person have access to? And then from there, I can tell you which, if it's this database, that database XYZ, and I know that person clicked on a fish 3 times now, I know that database is in danger. And that's where I need to take action. I need to train him, or I need to do something. I have to take action because ransomware is scary, right? So that's where I'm going with this. Awareness programs continually improve with time. You don't just stop and say, okay, I'm just gonna give the same training over and over and over. No, you have to improve with time. You have to understand that training isn't the same thing over and over, because I've actually heard this story, you guys can give these stories as well, where somebody went home to take their training. They said, hey kid, talking to their teenager, hit the next button for me over and over, take the test for me, I'll give you $10. Okay? That actually happens. Have any of you, I mean, how many of you don't just sit there and click next? You're sitting there with an accounting training, you guys are security folks. You're looking at accounting training, you're like, this has nothing to do with me. Next, next, next. Am I right? Okay, so that's the same thing people are thinking about our training. Unless we change it up, we make it interactive. Program and projects are robust, okay? So change. This is where we change into what we were talking about a little bit ago, is you really have to have your customer service. It's number one. When you're hiring somebody to do security awareness, you want that main person, that team lead, that manager, whatever it is, to have a very high customer service level, okay? Change our need for control when it comes to the human factor. A lot of us have control. We have to have control over everything, right? At least that's me. I want to make my program do X, Y, Z, and I'm just stuck. Yeah, I've got to do this program, and it's got to be this way. And then humans come and change it for you. You're like, but that didn't work for me. You do something else, and you're like, no, I had to do X, Y, Z. No, you have to learn how to let go of that control and maybe change things up. Change will bring more than you've ever dreamed to your whole security program and team. So specifically, when your security program looks good, everybody looks good. Because awareness is about all the end users in your company. It's not about your security team, as far as they know who you are, right? But everybody on the company doesn't know who you are. So make sure your fonts are pretty, make sure your presentations are pretty, make sure your training is engaging, things like that. Customer service is key. Your department's reputation has everything to do with it. And if you're starting with a pretty tough reputation, which I've done, you can build it back up. Trust me, you can build it back up just with a customer service person, and you can go. So if you have to have honey at the ready, is what I say. So you guys all know you can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar, right? So have honey at the ready. Plan fun activities. What do you know about the security department? Plan activities where your department, if they can face, sometimes techie people aren't really good with facing others, but those who can in your department, maybe get them out to the roadshow and say, hey, can you just hand out a piece of paper? That easy. Just so people can see them and kind of get that human interaction. It's important. Okay, this is, sir?
So how do you measure your customer service, or the best way to get feedback about your department?
So for me specifically, I'm doing surveys. So every roadshow, I do a survey, and not only do I ask them about, what did you think about the, in the poll, what did you think about coming to a roadshow? How did it make you feel? So feelings are always important, an important part, and I know that a lot of people are like, no, how did you feel about it? Not rank it 1 to 10, because if you rank it 1 to 10, you're just gonna get a number. If you give them a content box, right, and they can type stuff in, you're gonna learn a lot more about what your customers think about you, right? And give them a chance to have their say. So what this is it's a new 2017 dollar. So that's where the buy-in with the coin came from. That's Sequoia. He actually is a Native American that made the first syllable. How do you even say that? Syllabi. Anyway, he matched syllables with characters. That was the first guy that's ever done it, Native American. Anyway, humans must have a stake in the game. That's what we've pretty much been talking about. And you have to always answer the question, what's in it for me? So if you're sitting here and you're having to learn about accounting or something that you have no interest, governance, whatever it may be, what's in it for you? Like right now, you're all sitting in this class trying to stay awake. What's in it for you? Why are you sitting here? Well, you're getting a credit, right? I mean, most of us, that's what it is. Or we're here with our dad, or, you know, whatever it may be, right? So we're here for a purpose. So why are they sitting here? You have to give them a reason. So here's some reasons for you. This is an answer to a question I was asked last year when I was here giving this presentation. Somebody had posed the question, what do you do when you have somebody who's about to retire who really doesn't care about your company? They don't care about security at all. They just plain don't care. You have to give them what's in it for me. You can tell them everything they're learning here. They can apply at home, right? I mean, that's what we were talking about. Why would you do that? Because you're getting that buy-in from them. Protect your 401k and retirement funds. People who are about to retire really, really, really care about their retirement funds. So you're saying, I'm protecting your retirement funds. You know, you understand that? It's all about the money, right? Gaming useful items, meaning you can give away teddy bears or whatever it is that applies, right? Something fun, not something, you know, you can give away pens, that's great because they're really good, kind of cheaper items. But, you know, give away some fun stuff, things that they'll do. Like I saw some spinny things, what's it called? Spinners, yeah. And I'm like, that's something they'll probably carry around for a while. So those are good things. They can get fun prizes like $25 Visa gift cards. I will tell you, there are people that they will do every single quiz, every single survey for a $25 a chance at. You don't even have to give each one of them. Just give them a chance at. I hope that didn't break. No. Oh, good. And share with others. So some people like to share the knowledge of security. And then a resume builder. If you have a program where you're naming security ambassadors, which we do, then they have something to put on their resume. So people like that as well. Okay, here's where we get into the meat, right? The dashboard. I made this up. It's not a true dashboard. It's just just a JPEG. But I'm just trying to give you a very light idea. I didn't have time to make it look all beautiful, but a very light idea of what you can do. So if you look at this dashboard, I know it's small. I get that you can't see it, but you can see the arrow on the first thing that says compliance. You can see that the arrow is pointing to green. That's what an executive wants to see, right? He doesn't want to see yellow. He doesn't want to see red. He wants to see green. So we know in compliance, and we're going off of compliance training, right? These are metrics from compliance training. Okay, everybody's taken it. They've all passed. We're in green. Okay, and then the next one is incident reduction, which I'll explain in a little bit. We're in yellow. We're not helping incident reduction at all, or we're getting there. How's that? Because we're really close to red. Security culture. Yes, you can measure a culture, and I can show you how. But anyway, you can see that our culture is getting there. If we just started building, we're getting close to a good culture. Okay. So including in the metrics is compliance, incident, culture, technology, and any other things that you guys might be able to think about and tell me during the class, share it with everybody. So metrics, these are all fake, just so you know. These are all fake charts, but these are some things that you can, I just made it pretty for the slide. Okay, so anyway, regulations not followed. So what we're looking at here is how to get metrics and what metrics you might want to measure. There are other things you can put in here. There are time. Trust me, I've made lists. But people keep saying, what metrics? What are you talking about? How do you measure this? Well, from that dashboard, I can measure regulations not followed. I'd have to partner with my internal audit, any outside auditors, any specialized audits. For us, it's high trust. Have any of y'all heard of high trust? You heard of it? Okay, yes, for healthcare, right? It covers NIST and a bunch of other neat things. But anyway, you can partner with all those auditors and get some good metrics out of that. How many people have completed a training course? How many remote employees have completed their attestation, meaning you're sending them a piece of paper that says, I attest that no children can be in my office during the time I'm working. No children can touch my laptop during the time I'm working. Nobody can see over my shoulder during the time I'm working, you know, things like that. That is actually an attestation you can do. Well, you have to ask your legal department, but some companies do. Anyway, non-compliancy reports that are received by audit security. So if you have like a, I'm sorry, but I'll call it a whistleblower program, you can measure by that. How many have you gotten this month, this quarter, whatever it may be? How many policies were not followed and we caught it? That's going back up to internal audit, right? So that's some of the metrics you can glean for your compliance. For incidents, you can get spam and phishing reported. That means when you send out that fake little phishing email, you're not looking at how many people click because that's just for training. What you're looking for is how many people actually reported this as spam. They were like, this came in, you guys need to know about it. You start counting that. Did you have a, okay, I thought I saw a hand somewhere. Anyway, okay, so social engineering phone calls reported. So if anybody got a phone call, and we get those, and a lot. So here's the big question for you guys. How many of you have gotten a phone call with the same area code plus the same first three numbers as you? Yeah, so that's the new thing, right? So right, it's awesome. Okay, so anyway, so there are a lot of people now in our company reporting that. It's like, wait a minute, I'm not even going to answer that phone number because I know that's a fisher making up a phone number. And the reason why they do that is so that it looks like it's local, right? So they copy your first 6 numbers, and that way you're more likely to answer the phone. Well, now that we've all figured that out, now we're not so likely to answer the phone. Okay, number of brute force passwords cracked. If you do that kind of program, if you try to crack your own people's passwords, you can use those statistics. Screen viewable area checks, that means you have a security person walking around seeing if the screen is viewable to the outside public. So let's say you're in the hospital, because remember in healthcare, if you're in a hospital, and you have nurses that are turned around in their station where their monitor can be seen by people walking by, that is an infraction. That should not be happening. Okay, so you can measure that, how many people have done that, how many people have walked away without locking their screen as you're walking around, you know, that kind of thing. Oh, confidential data printed and left unattended is a huge one too. If there are people sending faxes, make sure they use fax cover letters. That's very important because what happens is your fax machine, even if you tell it not to take a copy, it's still going to send a confirmation back to you, right? It'll print it out after your fax has gone through. The confirmation will print out received or whatever, okay, but then it'll give you a copy of that first page. If it's a copy of that cover page, you're fine, but if it's a copy of PHI or PII, you're in trouble, right? Because it's sitting on a printer somewhere or on a fax machine somewhere. So always use the cover. Running out of time from what I understand, so I gotta move forward a little bit quicker. Number of respondents to certain security awareness surveys, number of attendees at road shows, number of newsletter readers. So you can see culture. This is how we're measuring our culture, is how many people are getting interested. So personally, I've taken newsletter views from between 5 and 10 to 150. My first newsletter was 350. You can do that. All you have to do is go find somebody like Sands, right? And get some good stories to put into your newsletter that are personal and mean something to your employees. Okay, number of badge warnings, people walking in without you being able to see their badge, number of visits to an internet site, that kind of thing. That's how you measure a culture. What are people doing? What is their behavior? Technology metrics, those are a little bit easier, but phishing and other security awareness metrics go much, much further than a simple program. Learn which databases, which machines are at the greatest risk. And I explained that at the beginning, right? If you have IDM and you know what one person has access to, you're clicking on phishing links and they've fallen for it 3 times, you know that database is probably in trouble. Okay, and this is the life cycle. I thought it's just like this system development life, software development life cycle. Sorry, I'm old school. I always say systems design life cycle. Anyway, follow this same life cycle for everything you do. Your newsletter, your internet site, your training, everything should go through a life cycle. And then next steps. If you don't have a security awareness program and you need one, you need to go to CISSP, which apparently we have at least one person that can talk to you about CISSP. You need to discuss the importance of the human with your CISO or your CSO. Follow the maturity model to find your company's level as it is currently and challenge your company to move forward. So are there any questions? Crickets? Oh, hey.
Oh, just from the lunch and learn type sessions, what do you recommend? So like for the first couple of sessions, which topics we should be covering?
So for me, personally, what I would do with lunch and learns is try to make it more interactive than it is dictating, if that makes sense. So let's, for me, the very first one, if I was trying to start a fun program, would be to try to get people to talk about phishing incidents like I did with this class when we first started. It was, how many of you guys have been phished? And I can almost, guarantee you that everyone has a story about that. And then just move on to tailgating, number 2, right? And then just keep going with the very easy topics. Don't get too involved into, what's ransomware, what malware is, that kind of thing, because that just confuses people and they won't attend. But if they think they can talk about grandma getting ripped off by somebody who said they, clean the house for free for them, then they have some buy-in there. Anybody else? Hey, I made it through. Thank you, everybody.